And welcome back to the Capable Kids Telethon today. Now, it takes a community to work together to help each other, and that's especially when it comes to medical resources.
And doctors practicing in our area have been working with families in North Dakota to better understand and treat neurological disorders. KX News' Nicholas Qualick talked with Dr. Stephen McDonough to find out what 40 years in medicine has taught him.
Well, I'm now joined by Dr. Stephen McDonough. Dr. McDonough is no stranger to our area. He's a retired pediatrician, now involved with Capable. Dr. McDonough, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, for those people who aren't familiar, tell us about yourself and your career.
Well, I worked as a pediatrician in the state for 40 years, and as my practice evolved, it became mainly a chronic disease, chronic condition practice, where I had a lot of children with a variety of issues from a wide range of area that came to see me, and I've always been interested in helping families who had healthy children, but also children who had some issues to deal with, and supporting them as best as I could.
May I ask, why did you decide that particular area of practice?
I just evolved. When I was first in practice, just out of residency, I was mainly interested in supporting breastfeeding moms and healthy kids, and as I went through my practice, I realized I needed to spend more time with children who had complicated issues, and some of it was my respect for the parents and the children, what they had to deal with, and some of it was just the intellectual detective work to when a child was struggling and having issues, try to find out what was going on to help them out. And I learned a lot from the moms over the years, and they showed me how to utilize support services in the community, and I became a big advocate for that. So I actually learned a lot from the moms and helped me be a better doctor in the process. So.
And you retired just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm 72 and a half. I worked till I was almost 70, so yeah, I for 40 years.
And we actually covered the story when you retired. You are very still missed to this day. Were you surprised by that reaction?
Yes, I was shocked. It was during COVID, the end of 2020, and we couldn't have a celebration regularly. So there was the parents organized to my surprise, a YouTube tribute, and which I have a hard time watching because it was pretty emotional. And then there was a parade of cars that went by the clinic. We had a small clinic up north, a Rising Clinic, independent doctors, where I worked the last 4 years. So yeah, it was very tough emotionally to go through that. But yeah, these families would come from all over the area, and we try to figure out what was going on and help their children, and fight for their children to get good specialists to see them. Battle insurance companies, and you get tight bonds with families when you do that. Basically, I just tried to listen to the moms and took them seriously and tried not to dismiss what they were saying, and that in itself was very much needed for these families, particularly when they have a really fussy baby that's not doing well, or a child's not doing things developmentally appropriate, or is having some unusual activities, or just not gaining weight well or growing well. We try to figure out and help them out the best we can.
And today we're also talking about families in the form of Capable. So tell us, how did you become involved with Capable?
So, I'm not in practice anymore, but I've done a bunch of children's books on nature, and I go into the schools and give presentations, and I have some canvases that I've sold, so I'm donating those to Capable, and hopefully someone will purchase some. Yeah, I want to do what I can to support them, because when you have a child with a developmental delay or cerebral palsy, and you're trying to get them to different services or school or being able to function as a family, a lot of those needs are not covered by insurance. They're just not. And some of these families live out in these rural areas, and they're not all just in Bismarck. They're in Western or South Central, and they have kids with very complicated health conditions, and it's a struggle for these families to provide all the needs their kids, the stuff that their kids need. So anything that I can do to help them out, I was happy to do it, and they were they were appreciative of the offer. So yeah, I just really encourage the community through this telethon to support Capable, and these funds will be going to families that really need them.
Dr. Steve McDonough, thank you so much for being here. And of course, give us a call right now and scan that smart code app with your smartphone and be as generous as you're able to be.
Yeah, we can all attest here. All of us have been shaking our heads yes as far as Dr. McDonough and what he's done for our children. So thank you, Dr. McDonough. And it's